Okay, right. So today I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about like the guilt of choosing yourself. I know a lot of people, especially older siblings perhaps, we have a lot of guilt of choosing ourselves. And I think a lot of that stems obviously from like a family unit that is not so healthy. Perhaps your mother and father is not really, integrated, um, and have really become adults, right? Um, they don't really rest in themselves and have like, that type of love and peace within themselves. They are kind of like on edge and stressed and fearful. They have basically not really healed, let's say, healed or elevated from their own families and their own upbringing. They're still like kind of holding on to um, that sort of past, you can say. And a lot of people, a lot of human beings are like this, they get stuck in like a type of wanting to get validated by other people, wanting to do the normal stuff that other people do. They try to copy other people and stuff like that. And they're still feeling like something is missing. They're on edge, they're fearful, they are full of anxiety. They need that validation, as I said. And really, they turn out to be like kind of like, let's just be honest, like narcissistic and often covert narcissistic people because they feel like a victim in their life. They don't really know why. Um, and they don't really see their actions as toxic. When you're seeking validation from your children as an adult, as a mother or father, there's something wrong. Let's just be honest about that. You haven't grown and elevated as an adult if you're doing that to your children. um, and that's the harsh reality. So that's what I wanted to say about as a start of the guilt of choosing yourself, because the children, this is my theory at least, and I bet a lot of people have the same theory, is that children of this kind of people, which I just had this introduction about, will turn into kind of like, that they put themselves away and look at other people, what they need, what they want, and how to please them, because that's what you first learned, right? You have to please your parents in order to be accepted and to get love and to kind of feel a sort of belonging, right? So that's kind of sad, in a way that you kind of stopping the child from actually having an adult life. They get stunted. Arrested development is, isn't it, what it's called? At least I will say they get stunted. So it's very hard for these children to actually turn into adults, but it's obviously not impossible at all. It's about like letting go of that guilt of choosing yourself, because that's being programmed into you, that you should be feeling guilty for choosing yourself. And that's why these children never really, or until this kind of transformation, they don't really never choose themselves. They always look at other people and what they need, and say the right words, and trying their best not to be disliked, right? and it will make a child like this really angry inside, bitter, and obviously also depressed, because they see all the other people around them. Obviously, because you look at the people who are the opposite of you, so you will look at other people that are doing something with their life, that are thriving, having their own job, maybe their a house or apartment, maybe they even are on the way to start a family. And you look at these people and you be like, wow, I'm so far behind, and I don't really know why that is, you know? And I'm not trying to put like a blame on anything or anyone in this matter, because I really believe that people, children that go through this phase are really the strongest, can be really the strongest people on this planet, to use that big word. They can really be the strongest people because they have the sensitivity that will really just be like a really superpower when they realize that it's very, very okay to choose yourself, and it's absolutely necessary to let go of the guilt of choosing yourself. Because sensitive human beings, they are really, I would say, they have the most, absolutely most potential to be fully integrated human beings. You know, they can read, they can write, they can play instruments, they can do sports, they can do all of those normal things, you know, which less sensitive people can do. Um, and they also have like this kind of wider perspective on things, empathy. They can really like imagine how other people and animals, for example, feel. So they have a great potential as human beings. I would say better potential, more potential than like your average Joe, you know, with less sensitivity and more like, you know, um, yeah, less sensitivity, let's say. Because sensitivity doesn't mean weak at all. It means that you have a great, great potential, opportunity, putting up boundaries, really get like integrated as an individual, you know. It's really beautiful when you look at it like that. So I'm not putting a blame on like narcissistic parents and stuff like that, because sensitive children of this kind of parents, it's kind of like they get this kind of hardship. These children get this kind of hardship because it will, in the end of that phase, it will like open their eyes to like, oh, I'm sensitive, I care about other people's well-being and stuff like that. And it's like, that's really good as a human being. That's like really beautiful as a human being. Like being able to read philosophy, being able to write your thoughts, having thoughts for yourself, going for walks, knowing how to like, um, you know, talk to yourself, like how you talk to yourself, metacognition. This is really beautiful. So really, that's very interesting phase that you walk into when you realize that, oh, I cannot change parents or other people that are narcissistic, or at least like borderline narcissistic people. I cannot change them, but I can look at how I react to them my reaction, how I feel, what I think when I'm like interacting with these people. I can observe that. I don't need to take on if they make me feel bad. I can observe why does that like make me feel bad. I don't have to put the blame on them anymore, because when you put the blame on other people, when you focus on other people that are toxic, you're kind of keeping the system going, right? So just observing yourself is the key for you to liberate yourself. Just imagine walking like along like a road, beside a road, and it's like and many people, at least sensitive people, can like they kind of get like this kind of like being observed kind of feeling, and they are like, oh, people are observing me in their cars or whatever when you're walking alongside the road, especially if you're by yourself, right? And if you observe what is happening in your mind, you can tell that it's only you here, kind of like your thoughts or and then also feelings about being observed is actually just you. When you start to observe it, when you start to observe when that happens, when just try it, walk on the road alone, and watch like the cars passing you by, and you can instantly notice when you are prepared for this right now, as I tell you, you can instantly notice when that shift happens, when you like start to feel, oh shit, somebody is observing me, or somebody is watching me, like, yeah, I put my head down, or like I feel like a little bit shy or whatever. You can instantly, then you can just observe that, start observing that, and you will see that it's only like it's only you would do it, right? So observing yourself will free yourself from it, because you will realize it's only you would do it. It sounds like a little bit too easy to be true, but it really works. It really works. I've definitely been there. Like I thought, like, oh, people are observing me. I'm such a weird person that always feel like people are observing me and stuff like that when I walk, beside the road. Cars are passing me by and stuff. Oh, it must be something wrong with me. Why do I feel so like, that people observe? Why do I feel so like fragile in a way? Like there's something wrong with me. Like I wish I didn't have my sensitivity, or whatever thought process you start doing, and you just like, instead you just observe when that like feeling inside of you is happening, and you can see that it's only you. It's really beautiful, and I guess this kind of sounds a little bit too easy to be true, but I really I really wish that you try to do this next time you're out walking, or just do like an exercise of it when you can. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about like when you have like these narcissistic people in your life, and to get away from focusing on them and like, oh, there's something wrong with them, I use all my energy on them. Yes, because you're focusing on them, right? So start observing what happens when they say something to you, what happens when you don't have to take like it personally what they are doing. Observe yourself instead, because there's nothing wrong with you, which is so, like I said, walking beside the road, you think there's something wrong with you, but that's because you don't observe what is happening inside of you, right? So again, observing yourself sets you free, because you realize it's you here, it's you. So that's what I wanted to say about, that's the fix to dealing with narcissistic people. Just observe yourself. Don't put the blame on them. Don't focus on them, because that keeps the system rolling in the same path, you know. You say, how can I please this person? How can I make mom or dad like me? How can I make that girl like me or that guy like me, you know? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. And instead, put the observation on yourself, you know. When they say something like that, and you like, it's like stings, just observe yourself. Don't react. Don't try to make things better. Don't, you know, just like observe what happens, and it will set you free. I know it sounds too easy to be true, but it is working for me at least. It just keeps the system away. You don't want to keep rolling in the system. You don't want to keep having this kind of reactionary relationship with this kind of people, or any people for that matter. You want to keep it observing yourself. And the more healthy people you're around, the less you need to observe yourself. Obviously, you know, we all have experienced this when we are together with another person and we really feel like self-aware. That's a wrong combination right there. But when we are with people that we don't really care how we act, that's a perfect combination of two people or more, because you feel safe around this kind of people. And that's the right thing. That's the physiological effect of the body, because the body will tell and then send up to the brain, you know, what it feels, if it's a threat or not. If it's not a threat, you know, the brain would tell the body, again, back down, to not worry. If it's a threat, toxic people, for example, you know, the body will freeze, or it will act a certain way. It will shut down, you know, almost like maybe stop talking, you know, or like, you know, freeze. Let's just put it like that. That's what I wanted to say, because in order for you to get away from the guilt of choosing yourself, is to observe yourself. Because you learned that choosing yourself is wrong, right? You learned that from having to deal with other people's feelings. And I'm not talking about that in like a psychopathic way. I'm talking obviously about that, like, you have dealt with adults who cannot like kind of control themselves. They're very reactionary, narcissistic people, right? Very reactionary. And like feeling like a victim, typical for the covert narcissist, like really feel like a victim. Like if you don't text them, for example, when they're like super worried for you, it's like breaks them totally into pieces. Like this is adults that are like, as I said, not elevated to be adults. They are like just grown-ups really, yeah, let's put it like easy, like that baby's in a grown-up body, you know. So a lot of people are like that, you know exactly what type of people I mean. And there are a lot of them in the world. They fail to elevate themselves into adults, and you can easily tell when an adult is elevated. They're calm, collected, loving. They have some kind of edge about themselves that tells that they are fine with who they are and like an independent being. Really beautiful to meet people like this. And yeah, so as I said, that's like the step to take in order to get like observing yourself. Yeah. And obviously if you have like kind of things you love in your environment that you kind of need to leave behind in a way when you're going out to like start choosing yourself, letting go of the guilt of choosing yourself, you know, I will just say that it's like Isn't it the Bible who says that, like, you gotta leave the ones you love, you know? Maybe there's a dog, some animals or something that you need to kind of leave behind, which can be difficult, but but it's so important to like to leave the system, to step away from the system, to what's the word, to separate yourself from the system and the family system, because it's not the people in it who is the problem. They are functioning from a system. They're following a script, basically. They're following like a system, and the rules that the system carries. So you have to like separate yourself from the system in order for you to live independently and not be over like, to not drown in like guilt of choosing yourself, you know, because there's nothing wrong with being independent, choosing yourself. There's nothing wrong with you, and you know that there is nothing wrong with you. You just feel like really overwhelmed because you take this kind of interactions with toxic people as the truth. But remember that these people are following a script. They failed to elevate themselves as human beings, which is fine. You don't have to like dig into that, why is that happening and stuff like that. They just, that's their life, you know, that's how it is. And starting to observe yourself will free you. Again, this will free you from that system, that like going into the system, that will separate yourself from the system. Differentiate, that's the word I was looking for. Differentiate yourself from the family system, for example, that system, or friend system, or whatever it is. Family system, let's say that. So yeah, it's beautiful because it opens up a lot of like all the possibilities for yourself. Obviously it's gonna be like scary in a way to move out in the world on your own, on your independent self, removed from like letting go of guilt of choosing yourself. Scary, of course, but there is like a superpower there who lets you understand that I'm kind of, this life is like just built from me. I can just kind of give the world everything from me, like my opinions, my thoughts, my love, my everything weird about me or whatever. I can just give it all to the world, you know. It just breaks the shackles of what you thought was possible, which is really small, right? Really like small when you think about like people living in a family system like that. And again, obviously there are some common things you have in common, let's say, with your parents, for example. You are built from them, from the genes and stuff, but you can still differentiate yourself from the system, family system. You don't have to take part of like the people pleasing, like saying the right things, like not like, you know, not following the rules. You can still like be calm in your difference, you know. And that happens when you start observing yourself. Like when you say something weird around the dinner table and everybody's like, what happened? You can just observe yourself, like, whoa, I just said something and they take it so on like that, or what happens to me. Oh, when I observe myself now, I don't feel weird anymore. I did before because I wasn't observing myself. I was just throwing shit out on the dinner table, like in words, and they all looked at me weird, and I started to feeling weird, right? That's the typical scapegoat right there. Because they say stuff. We say stuff. We say true stuff. We say weird stuff. We say all of this kind of observationary stuff. And we get looked at weird and stuff like that. And we just, oh, no, I'm weird. And we start to think that about ourselves, like something is wrong with me. I'm a bad person. But when you start to observe yourself throwing out stuff, saying that weird stuff you always have done, and you start to observe yourself now, it's like a beautiful thing because you can see that I don't need to carry this weird feeling they are giving me. For example, bad. I'm just observing it. You are stepping into the observer of yourself, which is like, I don't know how much higher you can go in like a spiritual sense in that way, because then it's like you're unstoppable, untouchable. You don't care because deep inside of yourself there's nothing wrong with me, you and me. There's nothing wrong with us. We're good people. We're good people. There's nothing wrong, bad. We're not wrong. We're not bad people. You can really like feel that when you observe yourself. But yeah, because that's like the elevated state. When you're observing yourself, you just notice everything. You just notice that nothing is wrong with you. You're not a bad person. You're just a dude or a girl, man or a woman, who just have opinions, who have observation, observations you want to share. You have something you want to share. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. And it starts by observing yourself, as I told you, because when you didn't observe yourself, you still throw that shit, right? You took their reactions as the truth, and they'd be like, what are you doing? What, like narcissistic people do? You cannot say that. That's weird. Or not giving you any reaction at all, like giving you the silent treatment, for example, and you still feel like, there's something wrong with me. I'm a bad person. Why did you do that? Well, because you started to react to their reactions. That's the perfect scenario for the narcissist, man, because they can hide their shame, the insecurity, and put on a mask for that their entire life, right? Their anxiety, all of it, stress, and that's a perfect thing, because then they can make you the scapegoat, the one that's black sheep, the one that's supposed to feel bad, take all the blame, take all the shame and guilt that they themselves carry. And once you go from reaction like that and start to observe yourself, when you still throw out the same shit you always done, the truths, the observations, you're gonna see there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. All right? That's what's gonna happen. I know it sounds too easy to be true, but that's how it is. All right? So you're gonna be like the cool guy around the table because you actually have the ability to observe yourself. That's the elevated state. You are now an adult. Congratulations. That's the people you see in the movies or around in reality who are the coolest people. They have the ability to observe themselves. They still like be themselves, throws out shit, say the truth, say observations, whatever it is. Be quirky on all different ways, because they have the ability to observe themselves. You understand? People that judge, they don't observe themselves. They hide away, they stay in the shadows, being scared of showing who they really are, and pressing down all the shame and guilt that won't come to the surface and be dealt with. They will never do that. They will be stuck, in this place. And those are obviously the down on the lowest of the low. The most uncool people, the narcissists, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that was a great video. I hope you liked it as well. And yes.